So I gotta say, the nerd in me was really freaking out every time Michael Keaton had a scene with Gary Oldman. I was like, look, it's Batman and Commissioner Gordon in the same scene in a different movie. Oh. RoboCop 2014 edition. This is a new remake, and let's just face it, this is happening everywhere. It's like an epidemic. Remakes are everywhere, reboots are everywhere. We have to live with it. What's RoboCop about? Well, if you haven't seen the original film, which by the way you should, pretty good movie, it's about a cop who gets killed in the line of duty. He gets killed by these very corrupt people. He then has this opportunity to become a robotic cop through new technology that's being invented. Thus we have RoboCop, who is now out to fight crime with a new directive. He has new ways of identifying targets. He can access any camera in the city, access any case file he wants to be able to identify someone, arrest them immediately, and there's a lot of talk. Is this legal? Should this be politically correct? Can we actually live in a system like this? The first RoboCop had a lot of satire and a lot of humor thrown in there. This movie kind of ditches that and goes for a more political vibe. Is this right? Can the American public deal with it? That type of thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what I can tell you is this movie's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. In fact, I was surprised at the level of depth that was given to certain characters in this movie. They actually try to flesh out these characters and make them less robotic, so to speak. And that was something that really surprised me. They actually did take time with the characters, which is good. However, I think they took a little too much time because there are elements of this movie that drag. Where in the first RoboCop film, he was immediately like robotic and it was about him learning to access his humanity again. When he becomes RoboCop in this movie, he still has his human side and it's about him learning to actually be more like a robot and then the struggle with the human and the robotic side. And I enjoyed that effort, but at the same time, I think it kind of took away from the movie too because it really stretched out this elongated training period just to have him back to where he was as a robot all of a sudden, and then it just felt like we didn't really get anywhere. We actually retracted a little bit. But my biggest flaw with this movie is the villains. They're horrible. They're just cookie cutter villains. There's a bad guy there who runs this organization and we don't like him because he's bad. And then the actual villain eventually surfaces, but it was such a weak portrayal of what this villain could have been. That's not really a very interesting antagonist. So since these villains were kind of weak in the movie, the action didn't really feel like it had that much urgency. So I wasn't really all that worried whenever this guy was in battle because he's so precise, he's so perfect at what he does, that it didn't really feel as if there was any emotion there, and I get it. He's a robot. Emotion is supposed to be absent from the scenario. But emotion in regards to what the audience is feeling in these action scenes would have been better because I didn't really feel as if I was invested in some of the action in the movie or him as a character simply because the opening with him, his actual human self felt extremely robotic, which isn't really good. So I didn't really feel that invested in RoboCop as a character, but his family, Abbie Cornish as his wife, was fantastic in the movie, and I really did care about her and her son, and in that way, I started to care more about the characters. Gary Oldman was great in the film. Michael Keaton was very good. I really like both of these actors. Samuel L. Jackson, as this news reporter who gives his thoughts on the various things and does interviews, he was great in the film. He had some very entertaining scenes and a fantastic opening scene. Overall, I did have enjoyment with RoboCop, and it was better than I thought it was going to be, but the villains in the film and the sort of emotionless vibe that I got from a lot of the action did take away from my enjoyment, but I'm still going to recommend checking it out. I'm going to give it a B-. It is better than I thought it was going to be, and for that reason, I am impressed. So guys, if you saw the movie, what'd you think of it? What do you think of the original? What do you think of the comparisons? Let me know, and as always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.